Welcome to the While My Batteries Charge podcast. Join us as we talk about all things radio controlled. And now, your host,
Folks, this man, he is the king.
Mr. CCXRC himself, Tony CC.
Hey, what is going on, you guys? Welcome to another While My Batteries Charge podcast. Feels good to be getting back into the swing of things. Got a few things to talk about today. We've got two topics we're going to be getting into today. One, we're going to be talking about the new JConcepts. Nope, not the new JConcepts. We will talk about that, but the new Axial SCX10 III Toyota, 1987 Toyota SR5. That thing looks so good. All right. And we'll also be talking about the JConcepts Reactor. I've got a video queued up here, actually, to talk about a few things on it. We're going to be talking about, is it a retro? It's for the retro class for the monster truck series. We know it's not a retro. It's not old. It's meant to replicate the retro trucks. So we're going to have some discussions about that. We've been having some discussions about that within the different groups for monster truck racing. And there's different groups around the country that race them, and probably around the world that do it, but definitely around the country. And each one has a little slightly different take on their rules. And so we'll get into that. We've been talking about that a little bit, and the discussion has furthered, especially now that we know more. JConcepts just had a video yesterday. It dropped the 19th. Yes, yesterday. And it gave us a much better look inside of what is going on with their truck, which is really cool. I'm going to say that. And then we'll get into it a little more. Just looking through my phone here, got some stuff popping up. Yes, got to get a good old Coke Zero cracked open here in one of my koozies. I've had these for a little while. Got a bunch of them. You buy them in bulk. Got them to give away at the Gauntlet and different events. So, all right. Let's start crack-a-lacking with the Toyota here from JConcepts. You guys have seen this now. Video's been dropping. I dropped my video. I think it was one of my better videos. I really had so much fun with this thing, and I kind of felt like I knew it because it just felt so familiar. And I think that's what I really like about it. As we talk about it, we'll talk about several things that I like about it. We'll talk about several things, not big negatives, but maybe, something to just look at. All right. So what are we looking at here? Sweet looking. There's two different colors, red and brown, more of a tan. A lot of people liking the red, and they're liking it because of the chrome wheels, which is interesting. I've never been a chrome wheel guy. So I see this and I'm like, oh yeah, blacked out wheels. Those are fire for me. So it's funny how we all have different kind of opinions on the way that things look. So it's based on a 1987 extra cab Toyota. They've gone ahead and bobbed the bed. Now, we've been talking about it, some of my friends and I, and the bob is kind of interesting because usually a bob, you just kind of cut at the rear. And I know there's different ways. You cut the back of it off and you shorten it up and you bring your lights and all that in closer. Well, this one's also kind of cut at the very rear, right behind the cab. I mean, it goes right from the cab to the wheel. So they like front bobbed it even at the front side of the tailgate. So it makes it feel extra short. Now, they're keeping this on a 12.3-inch wheelbase, which makes it fit in with a lot of other trucks this size. However, these Toyotas were a little bit smaller, and so they didn't scale it down. They basically scaled it up. So it says 1/10 axial. That's the form of this SCX10, so they're keeping with that naming. But this truck is a bit larger than it would be if it was the same size as other things that are put on the same chassis. So, has a little bit of a different look to it. I still like it. I'll be honest, especially this tan one. I think this tan one's awesome. kind of my color scheme. I've been loving the gold stuff and the bronze stuff recently, and I feel like they nailed it. I love that the bumpers on these, they have bumpers, but they're very, very tight. Give you lots of clearance, lots of approach angle, lots of departure angle. I've already been abusing and using the exo cage on this thing, which is pretty awesome that it has it and that it came that way. Very Honcho like, which a lot of people are saying technically Horizon had a Toyota before. They didn't brand it, but the Honcho kind of is Toyota-ish. So yeah, you guys let me know. Actually, if I could jump over to the YouTubes and we can put up a little poll here. Let me know what you would get. I'm going to jump onto YouTube for the people that are watching with us live. If you're watching later, sorry. Or if you're listening to this podcast and I'm tearing up a little time with this, sorry. We're going to get a poll going so that later on we'll be able to tell you what people think. Which color SCX10 III. And we'll just put that in there. And we'll say, we're going to call it tan because it's tan. If you ask me, it's not brown. Tan or red. And the poll is started over on YouTube in the comments. You guys let us know what you think. I know people have already been pre-ordering this thing, which is awesome. Very, very cool that you guys are excited about it. I go ahead and minimize this. Thanks for the steering video on the SCX30. Ghost DRC says, let's do a quick shout out. There's several people that have jumped in here. This was a last minute thing. Going to try and pop more of these in. Smiling Bear says, always room for upgrades. Nothing's perfect. Ghost DRC is here. 92 Honda Civic CX. He says he doesn't like chrome wheels either. See, it's not only me. Zay's RC is here. Bibi Curiel. Slaughtered that one. Yes. Venom. Some of you guys, thank you for jumping in here. So yeah, it's a pretty standard kit. What I like that they did with this, so the SCX10 III that I had was the first one. It was the kit, and it was the what was it? The Jeep Wrangler, and it was like the one I had, 4-door, you know, that everybody's doing nowadays. I painted it to match my real one. Took it to Axial Fest, had fun with it. 2-speed, all kinds of stuff going on with that thing. But it was just a lot to keep working right. And then, you know, if your transmission, you get stuck between gears or it starts slipping, you get into issues. If that servo burns up, you might not be able to drive it out. I prefer the simplicity of the single speed. Also, it clicked. I don't know if you guys remember those things. Those transmissions clicked. This thing is quiet. It is so smooth. The clipless body, you know, takes a little getting used to, but once you learn it, it holds really, really well. Two, it just works really good. So, it does have molded rear tail lights. I was wrong. I was right in my video, but in the chat I said they weren't, because somebody said they weren't later, and I just was going with that. I'm like, no, I was right when I said it. They're molded. They just have stickers over them for the color and to divide it all up and all that. But that piece back there is a molded piece. Front lights are molded, the grill, all of that. Very nice. And trail gear parts. A lot of people like the new axles and the shape of the new axles, the bracing on the new axles. There is a little curious part on, and we'll see if they have a photo of it here, on the rear where they added a little bit of webbing to strengthen it, I think. But it's like, well, now that hangs down a little more there, is it going to catch? Is it worth having so they don't break? But then being hung up more, I think it is. For the general user, the comp guys will Dremel it out. But here you can see kind of how both sides of this thing have been chopped on that bed to really tuck it in. Very, very comp stance. I think it just looks good. I think it looks cool. I mean, it's not perfect, but for what they were working with and to fit it on their platform, I think they did a pretty good job with it. I did see that Matt went and removed these side panels, and that was pretty cool too. I didn't realize that. I didn't look at it close enough to even think about removing them, but that was sweet because they hide the seam so well that it feels like it's one piece, but they come off. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, you can see again here how shortened that is. I was hoping to see the bottom side axles here. Lots of good photos. Here's the rear. See that webbing right in there on that outer part? It kind of just helps support that portal. And instead of being just that straight tube, you do have a little bracing there. I still think the clearance is more for the pumpkin. You're still higher than you would be if you were running straight axles. I personally would love straight axles on this truck, but I like black wheels too. I'm not I'm not everybody. Everybody's got different opinions. So, yeah, lots of stuff. JBRC's here. Bunch of different people. More people are in here. Axial 30. CJ7 body is huge compared to this body. Yes, it is. You're true. So this is small compared to that. Speaking of, I never had one of the CJ7s. And as I was saying, how this is bringing back that trail runner truck to me, because I didn't have a CJ7, I never even thought about that one. That is the same thing. And so we were talking about I might have been you, Tyler, about the CJ7 at Reaction Thursday night. And I was thinking, I need to find one. So I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace again, looking for the CJ7s because I wanted one, and Jeff had one that he had in the shop for a while, and then he sold it. And then they were sold out everywhere. But yeah, that was also a very cool trail truck. Definitely a missed opportunity to do straight axles. So there you go. So some other people agree with me apparently about the straight axles. Although the clearance on this thing, it's so good with the underside, with those boat sides and the way that the rails are in here. It clearances so much stuff, which is pretty fantastic. Yes, the roll cage. Watching my video, the roll cage was smart. Yeah. Jeff's Reaction has some really, really steep hills. It is definitely a comp course. It is harder than a lot of stuff that you'll encounter that you can just drive on and find. So it's a really fun place to run, but you'll get into things that'll get you in trouble and you'll tumble pretty hard. Somebody was asking, what's the next for you to get and try out for your channel? I think the next thing that I'm going to get and try out for my channel, well, I'm working on technically right now a build back there, the Retro Buster from Claude Parts, Claude.parts, you can get it. So it's going to be a Cloudbuster based retro. It's really awesome. The way that the kit goes together and everything that's included with it is pretty sweet. So that's the next. There's some other things. There's a couple other things that I'll be getting, might have, that we'll be able to talk about at a later point, but can't right now. So there's more coming. That's for sure. I'm also working on going to be building up a Class 2 Reaction Rules Class 2 SCX24 because that's such a popular class that we have at Reaction, and I don't ever run in it, so I want to run in it. All right, coming out to drift tonight. Man, I wish. John Arias says he's ready for monster truck season. Yes. Let me finish up on this thing real quick. We'll get into, there's the bottom side. So really beefy links on this. I didn't even mention that. I watched ExoCage videos, and he was saying how like these are some of the thickest links. I didn't even hone in on that. They are beefy. Like so many of these, when they would come with them, would come with really thin metal links. And like, hey, you gave me metal links. You're probably still going to want to upgrade them. These were really beefy links out of the box. So very nice. Again, the boat sides on it, it's so smooth, like the way that it just clearances over some stuff and just allows it to just keep sliding and then get wheel contact to be able to pull itself off is pretty impressive. I ran it on some new lines at Reaction last night. I have some reels I'm going to be putting together with that footage, and it was pretty stinking impressive. I'm just going to say that much. Pretty impressive. What else? Oh, so I did make an error. When I went out, I was just like, oh, let's get a new servo in here. And I just grabbed one that I had. And the one that I got is an 8.4 volt high volt servo. And it only gives specs at that. And I think it only really works at that draw. And with the BEC, all of that's running on that, or lack of one, in this brushed system, I'm overpowering it, and you see the lights flicker, and you don't have the power to get unbound. It just kind of gives up. So I'm gonna have to replace it with something a little less powerful, because I don't want to go brushless with this. I want to run the system that's in it. So, the temptation is always to just go brushless and make them more and more and more. Okay, I just want to have fun with this. So I'm going to put in a servo that's waterproof and can have fun with, that'll run just off the system and not overdraw it, and we'll call it good. So there, I'm letting you guys know I make mistakes. I don't know everything about all this stuff, and I just grabbed what I thought would be a great servo, and it was too much for it. However, that servo is going to go into something else because it's a great servo. Now, the funny thing is they did take the time to brand this and get it licensed, and there is no Toyota markings on it. They don't have it written anywhere that it's a Toyota, even though it is licensed. So it makes me wonder what happened there. Why they chose to do it that way. There's no Toyota in the grill. I wonder if the licensing came later, if they already designed it and it didn't have it. Molds were made. I don't know. The Super Swamper tires on this are nice. They're a great compound. Somebody was checking them yesterday, and they're like, oh, this is between the two different compounds. I don't know compounds. I guess like there's a G8 compound and Predator compounds, and this is like kind of between them, where it's not going to wear as fast as one, but it's grippier than the other. And they're like, Proline should do this compound for more of their tires. They were loving on these stock tires last night up at Reaction. So beyond me on that. I don't pay that close attention to tires. I'm not a purse guy. That's not true. I really like bags, and I like coolers a lot. So if I were a woman, I would be definitely a purse person. But I do bags. I do backpacks. I love backpacks. I love camera bags. I have way too many camera bags for all my camera gear. And then I have to choose which bag I want to use. Anyway, I wonder how long it'll be till someone fits the RC four-wheel drive Toyota axles. Underneath this, I don't think people would want to switch to them. I don't know. Maybe. Don't see that happening. So yeah, what is the actual tire size? It's close to a 475. I don't know. We measured it when we were up there with Jeff and I, because he thought they were small, but they didn't end up being that small. Let me see here. No way, Vanquish F10 axles. Just straight. That's all we care, right? Somebody just wants straight axles. So yeah, it's a really good truck. I'm going to try and close it out. This was look at the specs of it real quickly. Make sure I didn't miss anything on it. If this is the first you're seeing of it, make sure we give you some of the full features. Officially licensed body, extra cab, like I said. Trail gear, the Air 45P axles, they're portals. We mentioned that. They're new. They're fabricated style for superior clearance and authenticity. The clipless system, again, really good. Steel C-channel chassis, very typical. Exocase, notice that it looks like it is actually an expandable one. I didn't even pay attention to it. The way it's all molded together so well with those boat sides in there. Didn't even see it. The LCXU transmission with the dig function. I like the dig in this. I feel like it works really good. If I were to have any type of mod to this, I think that is a good option, honestly. They do have the metal panhard bar mount on the chassis, which is great. That's a break point of old ones. Yeah, the rock sliders in here. So yeah, the chassis, you don't even really notice it with all this stuff going on. You just kind of glaze past where they would have, I guess, linked together. So don't quote me on that. I don't have it here to quickly look at it. It's in the house still. Oh, see, look, it is. Here it is. It is expandable. Okay. Well, there you have it. All metal gears inside. Awesome. Heavy duty wild bore drive shafts. These plastic drive shafts have been super good. I've never had issue with them. So only issue I've had is losing a grub screw, and that's not the fault of the axle. That's my fault. I'd taken them off and not thread locked them when I put them back in, and must not have tightened them down enough because they came out. So that is that. The ride height looks better than the previous models. He says, I don't know why they use old shocks, so they just made good ones for the Coyote. I thought these ones felt pretty good. David Pig says the tires look small. All my buddies say they want to put smaller tires on. They want to go smaller in it, make it look more scale. I don't know. I just drive them and have fun. I think that's okay to do, right? They against the truck, I mean, they're a big off-road tire for this size of truck and scale of what you're doing. So I guess I see why, if they're wanting to go more scale, what they're saying. I'm trying to get back to here, the side shot. For what truck it is, I mean, that would be in real life, that'd be a pretty big tire up against a SR5 style truck. Just saying. Trail gear logos look special, says Brox RC. They look better off on the red one. That's for sure. I'm not usually a fan of having that kind of logoing on stuff anyway. Matt Flanders says the tan color scheme 10 out of 10. So you like the tan as well. I like it as well. All right. Yeah, 40 or 42s. Didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming either. I mean, I once I had it, I saw it coming, of course, right? But there was not an email that came out before this showed it up, and I was like, Axial Toyota, what? I did not see that coming. It was not on my bingo card for this year. I've got a few of them on my bingo cards that I'm hoping come out, but this was not one of them. However, I think this would be a sick SCX6. I mean, my honcho, just going to that from the Jeep was awesome. I love the honcho. Now, the flames are kind of an era thing. I know. Our 1990s era with the flame tattoos going up from the wrist or the ankle coming out of your socks. We were kind of the flame generation. Lit was, playing, and they were wearing those bowling shirts with flames coming up on. I had one of those. I'll tell you what, I did, like Guy Fieri or whatever, walking around with my flame shirt on, button down. But I get it. I would not. I would not do that. But somebody did. And it looks like, why is it showing all the tan ones? Oh, because I'm on the tan one. Yeah, off of the logo. I just actually watched a documentary, not a documentary, a YouTube-mentary on No Fear and the founders of No Fear and Life's a Beach and the Bad Boy Club and the clothing apparel stuff that they can. I just watched it last night, funny enough. And this feels like it would be very era specific to that kind of stuff. Get your No Fear on with your flames and your that kind of font, TG. All right, well, I need to move on because I got to get to some things. All right, let's talk about this guy here. Where was this at? This is at 356. JConcepts just dropped a new video on their Retro Monster, kind of talking about Jason's history with monster trucks and how he got into doing it. He's a big fan of the scene. You can see he's got Bigfoot, big fan of it. But also Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson and working with them a lot on different bodies and things. Just a big fan of it. So you can see in here just how many monster trucks he's got in this room set up. The chassis we've already established looks fantastic. It meets the era as far as the looks on it, from the cage design on it to the leaf sprung suspension, then to not having coilover shocks with the leaf springs. They nailed it. It's really, really cool. The question is, and has been, is it a retro racer based on the clubs that already have retro classes and all of that? So while it's not a retro car in that it was made in the 80s, like the Cloudbusters, they haven't changed. They are the same as they were back then. It is retro. Like if you want a retro experience driving an RC, most Tamiyas can give you that. So, and it's fun. That's the crazy thing. I have the most fun racing with the old Tamiya Cloudbusters. It's a blast. And so there's rules on pivot. Some groups have no pivoting things, and that was kind of to basically not allow the Freestyle RC Access chassis that was developed, because these rules have in them that you can't have. It has to be ladder style suspension, which means basically a 2-point connection to the chassis as far as links go. Not 3-link or 4-link like the more modern stuff. They did ladder style. So, yeah. The problem with that is you do that, and then you'd run on these. They would run the leaf sprung suspension, and we talked about it before, and we actually looked at how in their initial designs only one side had a shackle and the front was solid, which would have helped it keep with the axle kind of wrapping and help locate it a little bit. The problem is that the axle wants to rotate under power, and with just a 2-bar suspension, they need some way to keep it from rotating. And so the Cloudbusters have what are called the anti-rotation brackets that come from the ladders and then just lock onto the axle to keep it from rotating. What Freestyle RC did is they made a bracket brace that was part of the axle that the links went to. The one link kind of attached and went to that piece, and that would rotate the axle on that to allow it to still move, to get away from having a third link or anything else. That was how they stopped rotation of the axle from spinning. Genius, in my opinion. Still bouncy. They're running leaf sprung shocks on it, and then just standard, no external spring shocks on it. So it looked the most scale of any of the trucks out there. Was awesome. So they came up with the rule no pivoting. So now there's no 3-link, no 4-link, and then no pivot suspension allowed, which is pretty limiting on how to actually make something that looks realistic work with the leaf sprung shaft driven trucks. What's interesting here is what JConcepts did is they went steel motor on axle, but they went leaf sprung. And so what they did is, you'll see here, and they talk about it, is they added a pivot piece right here that attaches to, and I missed this until after we did the video last week saying, oh, these are just track bars. That's fine. It's just, they're not links. It's track bars. It'll be fine. It's not, it fits within the ladder system because it's not 3-link. Well, this part draws into question, one being the groups that have a pivot design rule. This allows it to pivot. 2, this system also attaches to the chassis, which would then kind of technically make it a 3rd link to the chassis. It's kind of like a wishbone style. But here's where I'm at with it. I don't know what to call that. It's definitely a pivot piece, and they call it like a pivot. Well, let's see. I don't know if you guys can hear this. Let's see if I get the audio working this time. What do they say here? Jason explains it a little bit here.
Old school, but drives like a modern race vehicle.
We've added a pivoting system underneath the truck. This is really what controls the whole suspension. We have a pivoting item here that's connected to.
So you still can't fully see it. It's some kind of a wishbone style with like a pillow ball pivot to keep that axle from rotating. And they mentioned it. We'll let it keep rolling here real quick.
The chassis and the transmission, and this takes the place of parts that would normally be on a clodbuster or something like that where they have to hold the transmission, but that's what allows the truck.
So I couldn't tell there if it went all the way up. It looked like there was a side piece here that we saw for a
place
second.
Of parts that would normally
right there, and then it goes over
be on a clodbuster or something like that where they have to hold the transmission, but that's.
So it looks like it's this piece up here, and it might actually go across, have a plastic piece there, almost a triangular piece, kind of, in the way that it then helps locate that whole brace piece to the axle. Here's my take on it. Again, what is the spirit of the class? And does this fit within the spirit of the class and the era that they're trying to replicate? And I mean, honestly, is the clodbuster way even really that way? They've got those 2 anti-rotation bars that come off of the ladders and then come up and mount to the axle to keep it from rotating. It's genius. I mean, it's a really cool design what they've done here. And so while it may kind of be a link, it's not really. It's more of a pivot piece. I don't know how because I mean, that's what that 3rd link does too. It keeps it from rotating, but allows it to still pivot. I don't know. Where we're at with it, at least for what we're going to do for racing, is it's fine. We're going to allow it. The issue I have more than anything with any of these trucks is that the way that they're made now with the motor plates is that they can increase gearing. Like this is running, it's 48 pitch. So they're running like 25 tooth pinions. And I think they said they've been testing up to, they've done 27. I don't know how big they can go with it. My biggest concern is the speed that they can have. I feel like the class already has lost the spirit of what the class should be for what they're replicating. Anyway, And so I posted something in here saying, hey, awesome job to these guys. They built an amazing truck, and this fits within the spirit. I mean, it's leaf sprung, the look of it. They wanted to create something that replicates old school monster trucks, and they've nailed it. And we don't have enough people making stuff for us to just be like biting the hand that feeds all the time. Because we've created something where we've made all these custom things, and we have rules to make everything so rigid to what we do that when it's like, oh, there's actually one that's being made to fit and do what we've been trying to do. This is cool. So my thought is the biggest hurdle, and you could say, oh, we're only going to do clod racing anyway. I think you could do that, and you could say we only allow clods and have a clod class. My thing with it is people are now taking those clods and they're modifying them so much that they run beyond what is the spirit of what the clodbuster was in the beginning, and also what that era of truck was able to handle and do power wise. One, because they were afraid of dying because they didn't have roll cages and stuff in them that were designed to keep the trucks from crumpling and killing them. So for me, more than any of this pivot stuff, I watched it run in the videos. It bounces like the clodbuster. It looks pretty comparable. I mean, you give this truck to me and you give Jason Rona my clodbuster, he's still going to win. Like, if they were the same speed or whatever, or not even the same speed, Jason could beat me with whatever. Some people are just racers, and it's always going to be the case. However, like the class is getting so stinking fast that it's lost some of the fun factor and the retro factor of the retro class, in my opinion. Just because it can doesn't mean it should. So what we plan to do, and I know other people aren't on board with this at all, so this is what we plan to do. And I'll say for the people that run with us, I'll let them know, hey, if you go somewhere else, they're going to be a lot faster. So you may want to have these parts and have them ready. So if you do want to go race somewhere else, you can install them and have trucks that go fast. But we're going back to stock clodbuster gearing. What you get with the axles, what you got with the motor. We're going to do the 27 turn with the 13 tooth pinion. That's the speed. You can add the bearings. You can go bigger tires. Things are going to make them faster. But that is the general speed we're going to try and keep within. This is going to be in like that 1 to 3 mile per hour range difference because of tires and bearings and certain things that you can do to make them go a little faster. That's cool. We're not trying to go 10 miles an hour faster than what they were meant to do when they came out. So that's what our group is going to do. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the same tires onto one of these trucks, and I'm going to find out what gearing makes it, again, in that 1 to 3 mile an hour range of difference. And we're going to put a cap on the gearing for this. So if we can do 13 tooth, which is stock for the clodbuster, we're going to make something that would be what is allowed for the gearing for this. Because more than the other advancements, the biggest issue with the shafties that came in and all that was the ability to gear up, because you could change spur gears and you could change pinions and you get way more out of a motor than you could. And people are like, well, you just have to design a track to slow it down. To a degree, yes, that can be a factor. In that 1 to 3 mile an hour difference of things, if the track can be a deciding factor, that it's an equalizer, not a deciding factor. The track can equalize that type of gap. But when you have people that are 10 miles an hour faster and they're just jumping the jumps and the obstacles, they're hitting one and clearing the rest, which the trucks like this era would have never done, we've lost the spirit of the class. And so we're just going to do that. And so I'm going to come up with what the gearing I'm going to say that if you want to run an Axis chassis, that's allowed by I think it's the spirit of the class, one of the best in the spirit of the class, to replicating the retros. Because we're not just talking about retro as in when the RC was made. We're talking about the trucks that they're replicating being retro. The goal for us will be to keep them moderately in the same speed. People are like, oh, well, you can't have a speed limit, which is what Trigger King did. I didn't think it was a terrible idea for club racing. It's going to be harder on a national event to limit and do all that stuff. But in club racing, where you come together and you're having fun and you've got your core group of people that should want to be within the rule sets that you have, you know, they're going to push them a little, but it's a little different usually on a club level. We're going to put that kind of a limit in place for us. And it gives people options. Then I think people are like, well, we'll just make a super retro class to allow it in. That's dumb. Personally, sorry. I'm not trying to call somebody dumb. We have too many classes for how many people show up to these as it is. The rule boards and stuff that come together for things like buggy racing, all that. There's only so many buggy racing classes. For monster trucks, where we don't even have things that are specific made for the classes we even have that you could just go buy off a shelf, we have so many classes. And when we do that, we get like 2 people in one class, 5 in another, 3 in this. Too many classes to even try to keep up with, and the expense of people trying to build them all to fit into all these different classes we have. Because now we want people to be in those classes because we created it. It's like we only have 3 people in it. We want more. It's like, well, we have too many classes. The expense of these things, people show up to 6 classes and you're $1,000 per truck. That's a lot of money, man. So, I think the simplest way to do it is this truck can run in many different classes. It doesn't have to be limited to retro. I think it can very well fit in the retro if you say, here's the limit of what you're allowed to do with it. So again, the speed limit rule, you get into semantics. If you're going to limit speed by saying you can only run a 2S battery. That is a speed limit. You have limited speed. It is not a designated mile per hour speed limit, but you have now gone and you have limited speed. Your motor, your battery, you're doing all of these other limiting factors. I think it's easy enough to say, here's the gearing you're allowed to use. Hey, if you're going to run an Axis and you're going to run an axial transmission, spur gear has to be a stock spur gear size. This is the max pinion you're allowed to use. Can't overdrive your axles. Got to be stock gearing for your axles. You can do heavy duty gears because you're going to need it. You could do spiral cut gears. Probably is a good idea. But you cannot. Actually, that would be locked probably. Yeah, that would be opinion. Anyway, you could do spiral cut. Just has to be stock gearing so that we can monitor what the thing is. And what will basically our rule set will be is, hey, we're here. We're a family. What we're doing here, we're coming together as a community to do this for fun. It's a family. If you're intentionally going against what we're trying to do here as a family and you're trying to say that you're better than us or you are not bound by what the rest of us have chosen to do, and we find out that you're doing that intentionally, knowing what the rules are, boom, done. we don't need you here. It's not what the intent of all this is for. Like, same with the national, man. I would tell people if they came and ran it, I would say, hey, here's what our rules are. You guys know these up front. If we find that your truck is going way faster and we tech check it, you're done for the weekend, disqualified from all your classes, and you're not allowed. We don't want you back. I don't have any problem saying that to people that want to intentionally come in and try and cheat other people. So it just has to do with the goodness of the humanity of what we're trying to do and how we treat other people and how we respect other people. And if you're knowingly disrespecting other people, we don't need you with us. We don't need your presence. That's for sure. And we don't need your money. So, I think that having a strict policy where you say that and people know will hopefully help curb the people that want to try to cheat. Because if they know that if they get found out, they're just done, that like they can't ever come back, that might help them want to follow some of the rules and just play the game the way that we're trying to play the game, where everybody's coming together to have fun and play the game. So anyway, yeah, I'm all for trying to be competitive, and if it's within the rules, like I said, doing things like adding bearings, spending money to do ceramic bearings. But again, for this class, I think you can obstacle and you can design a lot of that advantage out. But that's part of the nature of it, is the fun of figuring some of that out. But I think that there needs to be a kind of just narrowing of the speed gaps that can be created based on this. Because I know some people are like, well, since these ones can go to the moon, let's just open it up for retro, the clods, let them eat whatever gear they want to put in it. And, the spirit of the class is lost. And at that point, I just wouldn't even run a retro class. Like if we're just doing fast, we'll just if it's no holds barred, just run pro mod and no rules. Let them go. Why have 3-link, 4-link rules? So all the rules are put in place for a reason, and it's funny where it's come, but that's just my take on it, and that's what we're going to choose to do. And the caveat of that being, for our people, if you go somewhere else, know that it can be way faster, and you may get smoked. I remember I went to Connecticut for the first time, and Claude's retro racing was the most fun I ever had, and it slowly died more and more for me. And it started in Connecticut. I went up to the Monster Truck Challenge thing. They didn't end up actually running it because they ended up coming down with the thing that was going on in the 2020s and 2021s and that. So they weren't there. But I remember I got like gapped like a whole straightaway, I feel like, during qualifying. It was a ton. And I was like, whoa, this went from being a class where all of us were, came down to just hitting an obstacle right or wrong, or, inches. It was just, everyone was just like people going crazy, to just like, oh, wow, like whole straightaway. And then they were like, oh yeah, well, we gear ours up. So luckily Bart Mamone was there, and he took my truck and he put in the adjustable motor plates. He had a Dremel, and he Dremeled out my axles, and I think he stuck in an 18-tooth pinion in there just to keep up. Still was, it didn't make it, so I was straight away behind, but it was crazy how fast they were, and the setup and all that. So, but it also is longer straightaways. It just, again, they weren't, the typical people that run it weren't there. And I think Freestyle and JConcepts came together to just make sure it happened, because so many people had set aside and traveled and done all this stuff to be there. But yeah, some of those trucks, because it's such a pain to mess with and do. I think those trucks still have it in. I'll just shelf them. We're going to go back to ours being slow trucks and the fun trucks, and having the laughter and still the competitiveness in it. But it's a whole different game when you're trying to go fast, but the trucks just don't go fast, and you got to win. It's pretty awesome. So, we're going to take our series back to that type of retro racing. And it'll be our one class that might not kind of align with some of the other rules that the other the groups are doing. So we're gonna definitely build in so that one, we're accepting of other trucks because I think it's great that these companies are making stuff for us. I mean, how many more would we have, or maybe we'd still have some of the stuff with freestyle if everyone didn't just keep trying to write rules against everything they were creating and trying to advance. So, I mean, yeah, it's interesting how egos get involved in racing, and even in small groups like this where it's such a friendship based thing, and then it can get, you get the wrong people in it. I guess that's in any community, and how crazy it can get. But yeah, so I'm kind of diverging. I think that the JConcepts retro Reactor is very retro inspired. I think it deserves a place in the retro class, and so we're going to work with it. I think to make something modern, but also have it be limited in the way that they did, hats off to them, because Jason was trying to give it some of the spirit of that era that he grew up watching monster trucks. And I totally appreciate that. But he built in factors too that allow you to take it to another level, which the Clodbuster's been doing for years, man. People pro-modded those things out. Like, you can make Clodbusters really fast, and they're surprisingly durable with the racers and what they do with them. So, for the West Michigan RC Monster Truck Group, we're gonna be doing it. And as soon as I can get my hands on one, I'm gonna start building one, try and get some testing. And I have an Axis here that I can also get testing on. So I'll be working on doing some gear ratings that'll be posted for our crews to know what makes it allowed to be run in the retro class. We're just like we limit a battery or we limit a motor, we're going to limit gearing based on the trucks or transmissions. I guess we'll have to boil it down to. And as we get new stuff that comes in that we have to try and decide how to fit it in, we'll work to figure that out as well. So it'll create more work for us, but I think it's good in the long run. And we are thankful for the support that JConcepts gives to our small community of monster truck enthusiasts that run them and race them, and to have them on, making all these bodies so we can make our favorite trucks or make our own custom trucks for monster truck racing, all the wheel and tire options that we have. It's incredible. And so we're thankful for that. And because of that, we want to, of course, try to work with them where we can. And I think we, try and do that for many of the groups. As long as they're not blatantly trying to make something that's so much better. And even in that case, like I said, for retro, most of it's going to come down to the speed of it. And, I think the suspension is a big part of it, but I think little things like this rotation thing that they're trying to overcome to actually make it look more realistic with leaf springs is totally worth, making room for. So, Jeremy Bunting says, in regards to NorCal rules, from the feedback I'm getting, a majority want the truck to be legal, which would likely result in allowing the access to. More than anything, it would be figuring out gearing since it comes with a 25 tooth. But Jason mentioned in the comments they plan to put out a conversion chart. That's sweet. So speed can be teched properly. So that's the thing. Teching is tough. And that's why you have to have people that want to be a part of it and abide by the rules. And the biggest thing would be on national events where people are coming from different clubs with different rules. One, making sure they know the rules, and two, that they're abiding by it. So hopefully you can get by and not have to retech all of your guys because they are going to play by the rules or risk never racing with you again. Or, yeah. And then just check those other ones. And I think, can be a pain. Hopefully it's a little easier on this to be able to pull those off. I know when I moved up here and we started racing with NRC TPA, I had to change my motors because they required different ones. It had to be Axial or JConcepts or RC four-wheel drive. They had to be stamped. I was running still stock Clodbuster ones that came with the truck because those were allowed in our groups. And so you do what you have to fit within a series or a group. And so I think that's kind of what people should hopefully strive to do if they know what is expected of them. So anyway, guys, I got to go. I didn't mean to get all in the weeds too much on that.
Welcome to the Wild
But that's how I feel about it. Can't get around that. So hope you guys are doing well, and we'll catch you next time. I hit the wrong button. All the wrong buttons. Train car wreck at the end. See ya.